Once it was determined that we were able to take Niblet and Brawler, that started a very long, complicated process, which most people aren't aware of, so I'm happy to talk about just the bullet points. Well, first, from the health standpoint, one needs to recognize, and I think now everyone does recognize it when they hear about these pandemics and coronavirus and things like this, we're following the same model. What we do is when we identified Niblet and Brawler would come to our facility, we placed them in strict quarantine, and what strict quarantine meant is that we weren't exposing them to any new possible potential contaminants. So if they're at a stranding center, we want to make sure they do not come in contact, and I'm talking nose to nose, flipper to flipper, even waste material cannot come in contact with the new animals that are coming in and the animals that would be transferred out. We need to isolate them, and when we know they are what we call asymptomatic or without presenting with diseases or problems, we then decide at a certain point in a 30-day period that we will obtain samples, whether it be from the nasal area or from the back of the throat or from the feces or from the blood. What are we concerned about? What bugs would be a concern to coming into the state of Hawaii, whether it be a virus or a bacteria, and what would it do if it got out into our environment at the park? So we leave that up to the veterinary experts, and again, we go back to those same officials, federal regulatory agencies, state regulatory agencies, as well as our staff veterinarian and our consulting veterinarian, determine what are the risk factors. We put the animal through quarantine, we interpret the results to see if they've been exposed or have active cases or latent cases, and then we can bring them to Hawaii. Once they come to Hawaii, they go into another 30-day strict quarantine, because what people don't realize a lot of times is that just the stressors of moving, relocating. Imagine these two little guys are going from Southern California and they're coming to Hawaii, which actually is pretty nice, but that transport process can put undue stresses on the animals, and when they become in a little bit of a stressed or weakened state, sometimes viruses that they may hold or sequester into the body actually express themselves. So we wait 30 days, test them again, make sure all those regulatory agencies are okay with the results, make sure, of course, they're not presenting with illness, and then we are good to release them. Also, while they're in strict quarantine, something that a lot of people don't think about, but we also look at other ways that we can inadvertently contaminate them. So we have a way, we always work with this principle called clean to dirty. Everyone that goes in did not have a previous exposure with any animals. They take care of these animals all day, and they in turn are now considered dirty. They don't go back out and have contact with any of the park animals. So we have an intricate method, kind of looks a little like we're going to space or something when we put on, as I call it, our little marshmallow suit, but we put on something that covers our whole body so we don't carry something on our body which we could take into the park. I think everybody thinks about that now when they're worried about getting the flu. They're washing their hands and they're spraying Purell and they're spraying disinfectants everywhere. Well, we do a similar thing. But we also know the level of concern and risk with these sea lions, and it's not as bad as we think. But we also want to protect our new guys as well as our animals in our collection.